Hey everybody, I'm Ron with Radiant Technology Solutions. We're doing an SMB Connect video today, the first one ever out in the real world. Normally we're on Zoom. I'm here with Eric from General Cabinets out here in Hudson. How you doing today, man?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. Doing good. So you guys have been in business quite a while, huh?
Yeah, since 1972. My grandfather came down here from Ohio and started the company, and my dad's run it for probably the last 30 years or so. And then my wife and I took it over about 4 years ago.
Cool.
So
Third generation.
third generation, and this year my son turned 15, so it was his first summer working in the shop.
Awesome.
Which was kind of neat to see because we grew up out there, so it was kind of cool to see another generation learn how to make cabinets. You know?
Yeah. And you're building all this stuff on site?
These are flat pack cabinets or RTAs, ready to assemble. Over there, those are custom. We do a combination of both. Probably 30% of our business right now, I would say, is flat pack or RTAs.
Mm-hmm.
The other 70% is high-end residential and commercial.
Cool.
Commercial is probably our biggest section of the business right now. We've been trying to push that more and more over the last few years, just because the market's kind of saturated with the flat packs or RTAs. There's a lot of guys that just sell those. They sell a million different options, but they don't offer any customization. And we found that the market is a little bit more, I guess, lucrative for us in the commercial side of things, because there's just less people with the capability and the facilities to manufacture in-house.
Now with the commercial side, you're typically selling to like big companies like Lennar or general contractors, that kind of stuff.
Hospitals, schools, assisted living centers, libraries, dentist offices, doctor's offices, pretty much any institution. We market that. And then Lennar, we've done a bunch of stuff for them in their community centers. So they'll build a big neighborhood with track homes in it. And they'll have a community center which might have a little bistro bar, a reception desk, a fitness center. We'll do the build out in there. And we normally combine those with one of the bigger RTA manufacturers, and they'll do the homes, and then we'll do the community center basically.
Cool.
Because that's there's just, with the flat packs, the RTAs, they're great in a residential setting, but they don't have the durability that you need in a setting where they're going to be constantly used 5, 6, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Open, close, slam shut, kids hanging off the doors, things like that. You need what we would call our commercial or institutional line to handle that kind of abuse.
Yeah, kids, I've got 4 of them, so they can abuse the heck out of
They're hard on a painted cabinet. Painted cabinets don't have the durability that a laminate cabinet does.
Yeah.
So it just works better in that setting, especially in schools, doctors' offices, things like that. We have laminates now that are antimicrobial, along with solid surface tops that are antimicrobial, so the medical field, appreciates that.
Yeah, for sure.
Just for sanitation purposes.
Yeah.
Our commercial cabinets, you can pretty much spray them down with a garden hose. It's designed to weather the test of time.
You definitely need to spray down with a garden hose with my kids. That's for sure.
The kids, not the cabinet.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're open to the general public though too, right?
We are.
Yeah.
We are. Our current situation with where we're at out here in Hudson, we don't get a whole lot of walk-in traffic. We do get quite a bit from internet advertising, but the majority of what we do is word of mouth. We do very little advertising, probably less than $200 a month between Google and Facebook. So very little.
Cool.
Most of it is word of mouth or repeat customers over
Yeah.
the years. We get a lot of customers that, hey, your grandpa did my kitchen 30 years ago, or your dad did my kitchen 20 years ago, or whatever the case may be. Can't believe you guys are still in business. We're so happy. Would you mind doing this one for us? We get a lot of that. And then again, pushing the commercial side of things. those jobs are much bigger. So instead of having, there's been years where we might have 3,000-4,000 customers. Now we might have, with the commercial stuff, those projects are so much bigger. Sometimes they're 10, 20 times the size of what a normal house would be. So, instead of a $20,000 kitchen, you might have a $200,000 commercial job. So less customers, just a higher ticket jobs.
No, I get that. Yeah, we're commercial too. I mean, I'd love to fix everybody's grandma's computer, but
it's tough, man. It's you will run yourself to death in this business trying to cover payroll and overhead costs, doing one vanity at a time.
Absolutely.
You will run yourself ragged. I've seen it. you know. So we're just trying to focus on kind of what we do best. My grandpa designed a great system out there. The shop flows well with commercial stuff. Commercial cabinets are built pretty much the same as we used to build residential cabinets. But what's popular kind of faded out. Everybody wants a white shaker kitchen now. So we don't manufacture face frame in house. We do frameless, which is or European style, and we build off the 32 millimeter system. That is basically what allows us to. The 32 millimeter system is your shelf pinholes, and when you space them 32 millimeters apart, all of your hardware lines up in those holes. So your drawer guides, your hinge plates, any accessories you might have, pull downs, tilt outs, pop ups, all that kind of stuff. All of that will mount to the 32 millimeter system. So the guy in the hardware department is not having to figure out where everything mounts inside the box. That's done at the building table. So it gets cut and then it gets line board, edge banded and assembled. By the time it gets to hardware, all the spacing for all that's figured out. So he's just looking for the right hole instead of having to pull a tape measure on it and spend an exorbitant amount of time trying to figure out where things go.
Yeah.
It simplifies the process.
Yeah, it saves time for sure.
We've used that system now since long before my time. That's how I was taught to build cabinets, the European style. And we still use it today. It's still effective, and it still works. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
No, absolutely. Well, tell us a little more about yourself. I know you worked in the oil field for a while.
Yeah. I grew up here, right down the road in Anclote or Bailey's Bluff. Went to Mitchell High. Went to Gulf High as well. My wife is from Las Vegas. We met in Louisiana. I ended up out there when the recession happened in 06, 07 when it kicked off. My brothers and I were working here, or my brother and I, Donnie and myself, were working here at the shop. And there just wasn't a whole lot of work in the industry at that time. So my stepfather got us on with some oil field companies and moved out west, spent some time in Texas, and spent the majority of it in Louisiana, right outside Lafayette. Worked offshore on the oil rigs. And did really well with it. I loved what I did, and the only reason I was looking to get out of it was when I met my wife, and kids were brought into the picture. I was spending 21 days a month offshore, and not spending any time being a dad. So I started a side business out there, and would work my 21 days, and then I'd come in and have 7 days of side work, and it just was stretching me thin. So about that same time, my grandfather, who started this company, had gotten sick, and the economy was also starting to come back around. So it just kind of worked out. I was talking to my dad and asking him questions about how to incorporate, how to do taxes, and how to insulate myself from liability with my side business and things like that. And also talking about our family business, and I always wanted to come back and take this over, so I came down here. My grandfather got sick for a few days, spent a few days with him in hospice, and then came up to the shop just to kind of see how things were. My dad said, why don't you kind of go check it out? It's been a few years since you've been there. And when I got here, it was, you could tell that somebody that wasn't in the family had been running the shop for too long. So there was lots of things that needed to be addressed. So one thing led to another. I had to go back to work a few days later. Went back to Louisiana, and it was just eating me up. My grandfather passed a few days after that, and then the state of the shop. Because to me that's the heart and soul of it. Like anybody can go buy imported flat packs.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it. There's no pride in that. There's no skill in that. There's no craftsmanship in it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I don't even like selling these because I feel like a sellout to American manufacturing. If I'm gonna buy an imported cabinet that I could manufacture in-house, it's a no-brainer for me. Like, I'm gonna create American jobs, keep American manufacturing going, and not support, for lack of better terms, the communist regime.
Yeah.
I think China does some awful things, and I don't support it at all. I despise communism, and they're not the same quality that we can build in America.
No, absolutely.
American cabinets are more expensive, American labor is more expensive, our materials are more expensive, but the products you get will last a lifetime.
Yeah, way higher quality.
It's just, until you put the countertop on, you can see the quality when you're looking down in the box. When the countertop's on and everything is trimmed out and whatnot, all people see is the door and drawer front. They don't see what's behind it structurally. And again, in a residential setting, it works okay. But I'd be surprised if you got 30, 40 years out of the kitchen, that was manufactured overseas, where I tear stuff out all the time that's got my grandpa or my dad or my uncle's initials on the back of the box because they built it. It's kind of neat to see. You can see something that was made in 1985 and installed, and we're just tearing it out in 2020, 2021. It happens quite a bit because all these neighborhoods around here that were done in the 70s, we did the majority of the cabinets in them. So, to me, the shop is the heart and soul of the business. It's not the property, it's not the buildings, it's not the name, it's not the legacy, it's the people in the shop that are putting out work every day, manufacturing, the craftsmen. That's everything to me. If it wasn't for that, I would do something else.
Yeah, how many guys do you got out there right now?
In the shop, I think we're up to 6. I've got my finisher's out today. She's sick, and I've got an installer that also called out today. But in the shop, we're up to 6 in the shop. 12 employees total, including me. Probably 14 by next week.
Awesome.
I've got 2 more that are supposed to start on Monday, so we should be at 14 total employees.
Sorry.
From what we did last year, bless you. What we did last year, we doubled that number by second quarter.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, we didn't double that number. We met that number by second quarter. Our entire revenue for last year, and we'll double that this year. Is the goal.
Awesome.
And it looks like it'll happen. So we're growing. We've been blessed. My wife and I have poured our heart and soul into this thing for the last few years. She tagged along for the ride. She didn't know anything about construction or cabinets, and we had to make some changes. When we got down here, we essentially started clean. We have 1 employee left that was with the company at that time. And we kind of just had to change some things around. The company culture had kind of suffered a little bit. Attitudes weren't the best, and I'm big on positivity. What can we do to change things? It's not what we wanted to do. We wanted to try to steer the company culture in a different direction, but we weren't able to do that with the current crew we had. So we made a lot of changes, and that's kind of brought us where we are today. But my wife jumped in. She runs the office. I oversee the manufacturing and installers, as well as new customer acquisition, trying to bring builders in the door and different customers, things like that. So it's worked out really well. My dad is still here. He does sales, so he'll bring in work as well as work that my wife or I bring in. He will go out and pull measurements on it before we put it into production.
Cool.
And then in the summer times, you'll see my kids running around here, and it's kind of come full circle,
Yeah, no, totally.
But it's doing well. It's been a lot of hard work, but it's definitely come a long way for sure.
Awesome. Well, let's go check out your shop and see what they got going on out there.
All right, it's a little messy. Let's do it.
So this is the main shop. This was put up in '72 by my grandfather. These are our wood racks. This is where all the raw material comes in. We start off with sheets of plywood, sheets of metal beams, sheets of door board. Right behind him, the main saw right here is our SMB. What he's going to do here is he's setting up the stops so that you know where your line bore starts and stops, because this is what determines where all the hardware and the door clips are. That is a 1984 AN RB23 line bore machine from Germany. Put your pin. Spacer to determine where the second set of holes goes. That's what gives us our 32mm placement. Now everything after this point is built off of the spacing of that line. So once it goes through the line bore machine, we'll have carts like this, parts carts, for each job, each part of the cabinet. It will come like this with a raw edge. There's no edge on it, you've got raw material. So we'll take that, we run it through this machine right behind you, which is called an edge bander. What that does is it applies the edge for us automatically. It glues it, presses it, trims it, and cleans it all at once for us. So when it comes off that machine, you end up with a part that looks like this. Got a nice finished edge on it, so you don't see any raw material. Once it's edged, it goes back on a parts cart, comes over here to the building table where it's assembled, and you'll have essentially what looks like this is what we call a carcass or just a bare box. Once we get to that point, it comes down here. Lamination. Anywhere that it gets a finished end, which is an exposed side of the cabinet, we apply the finished end material. In this case, it's a commercial job, so it's laminate. We'll apply the laminate, we'll clean the box, get all the excess glue off of it, make sure it's filed smooth, no sharp edges, and then from there it comes down here. This is what it starts off as. So there's your laminate, we cut it to size, glue it. and then apply contact adhesive. You spray the cabinet, you spray the material, and then you adhere it. This is what we've got set up here also. This is normally where we do our doors at, but because of the busy we're kind of overflowing into this department. So she's also sticking them over here. Once it's stuck and cleaned and trimmed, it'll come down here, and you end up with a box that's got a finished end, finished faces. This is the department that we apply all your accessories. So if it gets rollouts, drawers, doors, lazy Susans, anything like that, your handles, knobs, it gets put on in this department. As you can see right here, it starts off with a bare box. He puts the drawer slides in, builds the drawer boxes, and installs them. And once he's done with it, he'll put the drawer fronts on there. That's a drawer stack. If it gets painted or stained, it goes to the back of the shop, where we apply any of the finish, which is paint or stain most likely, and then it'll come back to this department. All of that stacked right there is waiting on finishing. That'll go to the paint booth, and then it'll come back to this department and get assembled, final assembly. Over here in the back is where we build our countertops. So we do solid surface and laminate in-house. If it's Corian if it's quartz or granite, we outsource that. Shout out to Absolute Countertops. Jenna, you're awesome. We appreciate you. She does all of our quartz and granite. This is Corian or solid surface. Everything's glued up. Just needs to be routed out and then polished down, so you got nice smooth edges on the sinks. If it's laminate, Kyle will do those back here. With laminate tops, we order what's called sink deck, which is basically 3/4 particle board, and it comes 25 inches by 144. So we'll pull it from the stack there up on to the saw, and then we'll cross cut it down to length. Then he'll stack them up here. Where you can see we apply the buildups. We flip it upside down. We put a 3-inch on finished edge, 1.5 inch on your backer. And then we use these tabs also in case the walls are out of alignment for spacing, so that we get a nice tight seam up against the wall. He'll apply the edge first, same way, contact cement, and then he'll flip it over, sand the top, and then apply the top. You end up with something that looks like this. Once he's got that top edge applied, or the face of it applied, he'll go ahead and route it out and then file down the edge, get it nice and smooth, and make sure there's no lip on it or no sharp edges. Once that done, he signs the back of it and we ship it out.
Well, thanks for giving us a tour of your shop, man.
Absolutely.
You guys are doing some amazing things out there, and
Appreciate it.
definitely a lot of artwork and heart goes into that. You can tell.
Yeah, it's a labor of love. You know, you can as a business owner, you can see why a lot of shops have gotten rid of the manufacturing and just gone to RTAs, but you know, I gotta live with myself at the end of the day, and to me that's where it's at.
No, absolutely.
It's the guys out there putting in the work. That's what I love about it. So,
Well, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you guys?
you can look us up on. We have a Facebook page, General Cabinets. We also have a Google presence. So if you just Google General Cabinets, you'll find a website on there. We post lots of pictures on Google. I do a little advertising there. And then Facebook is where I post the majority of our stuff. So between Facebook and Google, you can call the office, 727-863-3404. You can email customer service, which is cs@generalcabinets.com, or you can email me, Eric, ERIC@generalcabinets.com, or just come on in Monday through Friday. From the office is open from 7:30 to 4. The plant runs from 7 to 3:30, and if you come in, we'll give you a walkthrough and introduce you to the family and show us what we do.
Well, awesome. Definitely check these guys out and give them a call if you need any cabinets, and It's great hanging out with you today.
I appreciate you, Ron.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.